Hi everyone, Queeveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to take a look at the night sky, the general features of the night sky, the planets, the stars, the constellations, and how they look now that we're coming into the later part of April. Speaking of coming into April, we are in summertime. Some of you may notice that here, looking at the sky with the sun nice and high in the south, pretty much in the middle of the sky, it's almost half one rather than half 12 rather than 12. So I did address in recent videos, well, at least in past videos, how Ireland is a little to the west of the center of our time zone. So in the center of our time zone, the sun is directly above the south in the middle of the day. But either side of the middle of the time zone, there is a little bit of a drift between the official midday and the physical midday, the physical local midday. You can also see here there's +1. So that is summertime, daylight savings. So the time is adjusted by an hour depending on the season, and this happens in many areas. If you've noticed, if you're a regular viewer and you've noticed these videos coming up later than normal, well, this is why I'm posting them from a different time zone. If you haven't noticed, then there's a good chance that your time zone has changed as well. You might be in an area that does daylight savings time as Ireland currently does. So that's the sun in the middle of the sky for this coming weekend. We're going to push out towards evening time and turn around to the west as the sky gets darker. Of course, a lot of the things that have been big major features in the sky recently are over here in the west. So we can see really above the southwest, we've got Mars, Sirius, there's the brightest star in the Little Dog, Procyon in Canis Minor, just above Sirius in Canis Major. We've got Orion with Betelgeuse, just visible, only visible really, while there is this orange-yellow glow of the sun in the sky. You can see there with the Hyades and the Pleiades, Aldebaran there, and Jupiter up a little bit higher. So all of that is now very much over in the west. We've got Cassiopeia over there as well. Coming around to the south, Leo is there in the south as the sun is going down, but by the time the sky actually gets dark, we've already lost the end of Orion. We've lost Rigel there. We can still see those same features in the sky, but for example, Sirius there, if you are in a city or in a place of uneven terrain, it would already be behind a hill or a mountain, and we can see that Leo, definitely right above the south there. Virgo is pretty much all above the horizon as well. So Virgo is a bit of an abstract shape, an abstractly shaped constellation, but there is that nice little rhyme to help you find it. We can see the Plough or the Big Dipper really high in the sky, almost at the zenith early in the evening. It does come up a little bit higher as we come a little bit closer to midnight. So we can see there pretty much in the middle of the sky, the Plough there, and the rest of Ursa Major right above Leo. The tail of the Plough, this arc of Ursa Major here, you follow the arc to Arcturus and then spike on to Spica, and we can see Spica is that blue star there. So it's not labeled, but if we zoom in just a little bit, there we go, Spica, the label comes up. Spica, Spica, I say Spica because it is a spike of corn, it's an ear of corn. As I said, Virgo is a bit of an abstract shape in the sky. It's hard to imagine that that's supposed to be the shape of a young woman. Leo the lion, Gemini the twins, even Ursa Major to an extent, they all look a lot closer to the constellation that they are meant to be. Here are the lines, and we can see some of the other big constellations as well. We can see Corvus there, for example. There are several constellations that just look like lines, these lines in the sky. This one is Canis Venatici, the hunting dogs. Not entirely sure what this one is off the top of my head, but let's see. There we go, Sextans the sextant. So we can see there that the lines in the sky can be very detached from the picture they are supposed to draw. Staying familiar with these constellations that are down in the south is of course a little bit harder. Everything that we see back here in the north we get to see all of the time. It's always going to be there, those circumpolar constellations. And even then, fainter ones, less famous ones like the Lynx there, they often, well, they are a little bit more obscure. They get talked about less, and so they're a little bit harder to remember. Now that we're really through to the middle of the night, the summer triangle, or at least parts of the summer triangle, are already up. So we can see Lyra or Vega there with Lyra. If we push a little bit later, and we're still pretty early, here we go actually hitting true darkness. And it looks like we're looking at a sky, yeah, that's just a little bit better than what we normally see here in Cork City. So let's pull that back to a normal city sky, just to focus on the brightest features. And with this lower number of stars, it's almost easier to see, I'll zoom in a little just in case, the fin shape of Perseus here. That fin shape of Perseus, those stars are a little bit faint. So once the sky is darker and many more stars of a similar brightness become visible, it can be a little bit harder to see that shape. Whereas very bright stars and very bright shapes like the Plough or the Big Dipper, they're going to stand out a little bit better. In fact, the Plough or the Big Dipper stands out a little bit better than the other stars in Ursa Major. And now that we're definitely in the city, the head of Ursa Major is very, very faint. The limbs there, not too bad. They're still pretty visible. We can still see Spica or Spica, but the rest of the shape of Virgo is a little bit trickier to spot. So we're going to keep pushing forward just up to midnight, because the midnight sky is already, more significantly different. So we can see that all of Orion is gone there, all of Taurus is gone, Jupiter is practically gone, Mars is still in the sky, as are Gemini, but much, much lower in the sky. Turning around towards the east, and we've got a much better chunk of the summer triangle up. So that's Vega, that's Deneb there with the wings of Cygnus just coming out the side. Altair wouldn't be far under the horizon from here. Now that we're in the city, by midnight, we've got Corvus there directly above the south, but it would be pretty low to the horizon. So that kind of diamond shape might be obscured by trees or buildings. If you are lucky enough to have some clear path to the south, then Corvus should be visible just at midnight. But this is sort of the, late night sky. We'll move forward even further, because Mars and Gemini, they were already over in the southwest by the time the sun was going down. So even though we are into summertime and the sun will be rising earlier and earlier, we can see there that Gemini and Mars are comfortably out of the sky, completely gone, while the sky is still completely dark. So we're here coming up to 4 o'clock at 20 to 4 in the morning. We've now got the front of Scorpius just coming up to due south. We've also got all of the summer triangle in the sky. So we can see there Altair has joined Vega and Deneb in the sky. So the whole summer triangle is up. That means the glow of the Milky Way is arcing along there. And we can see that kind of path from Cassiopeia through the summer triangle down through Scorpius just past Antares. Sagittarius would be just down over there, still a little under the horizon. No, just coming over the horizon, but it is really tricky to see. If we zoom in a little bit, there we go, that's the shape of the teapot. But from a little further back with the atmospheric extinction and everything, that's very faint. That's going to be quite tricky to spot. But we will leave things come up a little bit higher. Here we go, there's Venus, the moon, and we've still got Antares. The summer triangle is now up nice and high, and a lot of the constellations that are around the sun, they're going to get obscured to various degrees. So, for example, Pegasus, the whole square of Pegasus there isn't really visible, just the top 3 stars, sort of the corner of Pegasus. So I didn't recognize it. Of course, that's where Pegasus is in the sky, just next to Andromeda. There's Cassiopeia, so the Andromeda galaxy must be around there, and the constellation Andromeda. Triangulum's always nearby. But even still, with those stars missing, because it's so bright over here in the morning, Pegasus didn't look itself. It didn't stand out to me immediately, but it is out there. We've got Capricornus there with the moon and Aquarius and Pisces, but those are fainter constellations with less distinct shapes, as well as the glow of the sun now coming up, obscuring them. So a lot of the really famous constellations, we're getting to see them either there with Scorpius or earlier in the evening with the Gemini, Taurus, Leo, Virgo, they are all very clear in the evening sky. But we've come around to the morning here, and if you do know the shapes, maybe if you know them better than I do, you'll be able to pick out some of the constellations like Pegasus there. But of course, shapes like Scorpius, Sagittarius, Cassiopeia, they're all up in the morning, as is Venus. We'll keep pushing forward. Of course, Venus is the last thing to leave the sky, so it's still there at 10 past 6, so getting later around the 6 o'clock time that we normally consider sunrise to be. Of course, that changes quite a lot with the seasons here in Ireland. Venus will fade out, we can see there by about 6:30. It would be very difficult to see, even at 6:15 from a city like Cork. It would be pretty tricky. But just to quickly take a look, yeah, there's Mercury, Neptune, and Saturn. And there's Comet F2 Swan. So this just calls back to a couple of recent videos. Comet F2 Swan from the previous video, and these planets visible at sunrise from a few videos ago. Visible at sunrise if you are closer to the equator. So we can see there, definitely above the horizon, definitely not visible, at least from the city here in Cork. But that is just in one night. That's what you can see in April. Of course, the Lyrids are coming up as well, so we may talk about them next week. But if you're not looking for particular meteor showers, if you're not looking for a particular comet, those are some of the constellations and where the planets that are visible are going to be. So I hope that you did enjoy this video. If you did, please do like it. You can also subscribe to this YouTube channel if you'd like to see more, and you can read some of this information on my website, queeveenscontent.ie. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.